Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I hope you're having a good day, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Lurliger, titled, Am I the asshole for suggesting to my wife that we kick out our daughter and son-in-law? So I, 55 male, have a daughter, 27 female, and she has a fiancé, 26 male, and they both live with us. My wife, 54 female, and I always made it very, very clear to our children growing up that they were always welcome to come home and live with us if anything happened. And my daughter and her fiancé had a really, really hard time finding a place to live after graduating, so we arranged for her to come and stay with us. Her fiancé has absolutely no family, and we absolutely adore him here, so we invited him to live with us too. That was 2.5 years ago. They had one interview with an apartment last year that turned them down, but they haven't made much of an effort to move out. In fact, they're kind of freeloading and not moving anywhere in life. Our daughter really wants to do art, so she designs tattoos and sells some of her designs to a local shop, but that doesn't make a whole lot. Then our son-in-law really wants to be a movie editor, and he works part-time for a production company. They both really only make enough to cover their own expenses, health insurance, car payments, cell phone, etc., and they live here rent-free and don't seem to be doing much with their lives. They do some work, but they spend most of their time sleeping, having sex, and going out together to the movie theater. When I tried to bring this to my wife and suggest that we kick them out, or to push them to get actually decent-paying jobs, she was appalled and asked what was wrong with me. She told me that she is our child and he is our future son-in-law and is family too, and she said she couldn't even believe that I'd suggest that. I told her I thought I was being perfectly reasonable since they aren't doing shit with themselves right now, and I don't want to enable them pissing away their lives. She told me I was acting like an ass, and as far as she's concerned, they're doing just fine because they're doing what they love for work while being surrounded by supportive and loving family members, then added a, well, mostly, at the end. I said I felt that we should end the conversation, and we moved on with what we were doing. Maybe it wasn't nice of me to do that, but seriously, it annoys me to see my daughter wasting away at her potential while my other kids are going on to big things. Hell, her sister 4 years younger than her is in Australia right now. Bit of how you gone. Am I the asshole? Edit. I feel like I should clarify something. I think it's safe to say that everyone in the situation knows that they are freeloading. My wife no doubt knows it and is ignoring it. But both of the kids no doubt know it too. They don't let us pay a single cent for any of their expenses beyond the living situation. They even pay for all of their own food, toothpaste, shampoo and soap, and they take care of every single personal expense they have. I've also heard conversations my daughter and my sister-in-law had with my wife, and they absolutely know that they are running in place in life. Also, one last thing I want to clarify is that they both have a theater subscriptions that's like $20 a month each for unlimited movies at a nearby movie theater, so it's not like they're irresponsibly spending money willy-nilly on movies all the time. I'm gonna go with no assholes here for this one. I think it's okay for you to suggest these things, in all honesty. Though instead of just discussing it with your wife, I think all 4 of you should come together and discuss the living arrangements, how you feel about it, and what you feel needs to change in order for you to feel happy with this situation. Although I'm guessing that is the logical next step in all of this, I would judge you if you did something rash without talking to them. In the comments, Snoowords4839 says, Not the asshole. Since wife is against kicking them out, time for the rent and food conversation. They may be pursuing their dreams, but they need to be responsible adults. Something you can do, if you can afford it, any money they pay you, put in an account for them, but don't tell them about it. Gift it when they finally are out and responsible. And OP replies, Oh wow, I like that idea. We're pretty well off, so it's not like we need them to chip in, so that would work. Wooden Discount replies, My friend did this for a homeless person she had in her house temporarily. When the lady got a place, they used said rent money to get her stuff for her apartment. Not the asshole. They are just being enabled at this point. Chasing dreams is great, but only after you can pay all of your own bills or have a set timeline to make real money. They will end up living off of you forever unless they change. Time for rules, rent, and a plan. Not the asshole. I'll bet there are a lot of resources on how to gently push young adults out of the family home to be found online, because tons of posts on this appear each week. You need a timeline, perhaps a year, with quarterly milestones including job research, job applications, housing research, savings, and contributions to the household, chores, errands. Your wife is, frankly, delusional if she thinks her 27-year-old daughter is doing enough adulting by occasionally selling some drawings for $50 a pop. I wouldn't advise calling your wife delusional, of course. I would advise booking a session with a family counselor and talking about the situation in that forum. I can pretty much guarantee that the counselor will agree that the 27 and 26-year-old couple is taking advantage of your generosity to delay having to become self-sufficient. Of course, the housing market sucks out there, but these two aren't even trying to find work to save money to move out. Try to get on the same page with your wife regarding a plan, then bring in the insufficiently motivated couple to lay it out for them. Counseling might seem extreme, but if you can't get your wife to stop thinking like a mother hen with fluffy yellow baby chicks, the next thing you'll know, you'll have a couple of new babies added to your full household. And you'll be hearing how their parents couldn't possibly afford a 2-bedroom apartment, pay for childcare, etc., etc. And now, onto the update. My wife and I decided to sit them down for a conversation, and we asked them what their short and medium-term goals were. Over the course of the conversation, my daughter started crying because apparently she thought she heard me call her a loser recently, which I absolutely didn't mean to. And they told us that they've been drowning in credit card debt, they have 5 cards and are $4,000 deep across them all, and they have both been going through some horrible depression. He's been on some antidepressants for most of the time that I've known him, and apparently she went back on hers recently, and my wife and I had no idea. They both said they know they're freeloading and are disappointments and burdens, and are wasting their times and wasting their prime years. I honestly was not at all expecting that. It actually made me feel horrible that I even entertained the idea of kicking them out, but they told us that they do want to move out and get real jobs and start a family at some point. I told them both I was terribly sorry if I made them feel like I didn't think much of them or that they were losers, because I am very proud of her and love her so much, and that I was happy to have him as a son-in-law and have my daughter be with someone who clearly respects and cherishes her. Over the past 2 weeks, they've been submitting applications, and today they both got jobs at an AMC theater nearby. They're both working at the same location and are going to go to work together, and they have their first day on Thursday. They said once they get their finances in order, they'll figure out a monthly rent and they'll pay us. My wife and I told them to please keep their money, since it sounds like they need it badly right now, but they insisted. I'll admit I did think they were being lazy and unmotivated at first, but I didn't realize they were in so much pain. I'm super proud of them for taking the next step and moving towards their own independence, and hopefully they'll achieve that dream of moving out and having a family soon. So yeah, that's the update. Edit, they told us that they were trying to downplay it because they were afraid we'd judge them, and collectively between the two of them, the total is closer to $6,000 in credit card debt. However, I still think it's nothing that they can't come back from, and if they both consistently work and are smart with finances, I'm sure they'll be debt-free by the end of the summer. In the comments, American Health 74 says, "Not the asshole, and thank you for listening to them. Maybe take their rent and quietly put it in an account that you don't tell them about, but give them half when they get their own place as a safety net, and keep the other half to give them as a safety net that they don't know about in the future." Teddy Asso says, "The daughter should learn to tattoo. I know the industry isn't without its issues, but it can pay quite well for someone who is a talented artist." Right? She can't be making much of anything selling designs. I don't get why she wouldn't just learn the art. I also don't get why a shop would buy someone's designs and not take them on as an apprentice. I assume that he means they're buying her flash sheets, and I've never been in a shop that had flash sheets from either employees or well-known tattoo artists on the walls. A lot of what's being said doesn't make a ton of sense, especially when the resolution is jobs at the movie theater. It could be that she has some trait that makes her totally unsuitable as a tattoo artist, like a needle phobia. I have shaky hands. I can draw/make digital art, since I can erase the scratchier, sketchier, and shaky lines. Can't do that with tattooing. Based on that bad tattoo subreddit, it doesn't seem to stop some though. Quicksilver 1964 says, and, once again, proper communication saves the day. But seriously people, talk to one another, especially if you live in the same house. Turconnell FL says, they're freeloading but still digging themselves into debt? Yes, they are depressed. After this conversation, they also started sending out applications and got jobs lined up. It can be chicken and egg. Are they stuck because they're depressed, or are they depressed because they're stuck? Either way, the trick and trap of depression is making efforts to change the circumstances so they don't seem impossible and hopeless. Acknowledging that depression effing sucks and makes everything suck doesn't mean enabling depressive passivity. Capitalist dystopian hellscape brainwashing or not, most people actually don't feel very good being dependent and in a rut. Choosing a life of leisure is great, having no choice can also be painful. Good for everyone for talking, for the younger generation for making a change, and for OP for having some empathy. It sucks how it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts. You're depressed, so you don't do anything, which makes your life worse, which makes you more depressed, repeat ad nauseum. The passivity really makes things worse, and it's hard as hell to help someone stop it while showing compassion. For me personally, I very much agree with that sentiment. Do not enable depressive passivity. We've all been there, I know how that feels, and I can empathize absolutely with OP's child. And yes, again, it's great to see communication. Communication seems to be solving all, for better or for worse. So that's my take. What do you think of this one? I'd love you to let me know down below. Our next post is by user Ghost200121, titled, "Am I the asshole for screwing in my fence panels so they can't be lifted?" I have lived in my house for almost 3 years. I live in a corner house next to the road, a road-back road. A lot of the kids in the neighborhood play ball games in that area. This doesn't bother me much apart from when they kick it against my fence. One thing that does bug me is how often they would come to the door because the ball had gone over into the garden. I know this seems like such a small thing, but I'm talking 5 to 6 times a day. I used to work from home, so I would just get the ball and ask them to be more careful. However, I recently changed jobs and now work out of the house. My partner is still home throughout the day but is hard of hearing and never hears the kids when they knock. She actually uses more sign language than anything or reads lips, as she can't hear well at all without her hearing aid, which she only really wears when she's leaving the house. Anyway, since I haven't been home to answer the door, I found out the kids have actually been lifting my fence panel and coming into my garden to get their balls. I hate this. It makes me feel like my space and my privacy is violated. I also have 4 dogs who are usually outside when the weather is nice. I have cameras, so I've caught them doing this and have evidence, but their parents don't seem to care. So I decided to screw all my fence panels in so they could no longer be lifted. Now, every night I go home, I'm greeted with a bunch of angry kids telling me that their ball is in my garden and they can't get it. I just ignore them and throw the ball over without speaking to them. Yesterday, when I got home, one of the kids' mothers was at my front door. When I got out of my car, she instantly started yelling and calling me a thief for not getting her son's ball. I told her that I was at work, and she started yelling about how my partner could have sorted it out. I told her I'd go get the ball, so calm down, and she said that I needed to fix my fence as it was broken and the kids couldn't go get them on their own anymore. I told her it wasn't broken and I had done that so they couldn't get in. This made her very angry and she started yelling. I told her I couldn't have them letting my dogs out and also mentioned how they almost broke my fence once, and she threatened to call the police for theft the next time I don't get the ball immediately. So am I the asshole for stopping them from getting into my garden? And could they actually call the police when I'm not even home to get the ball? Man, I'm trying not to insert myself personally into OP's shoes in these situations, but my immediate reaction when the mum came at OP here was to be just like, "Oi, piss off, get out of my face. I don't want this, you don't want this." Ah, yes, me getting out of my car, instantly yelling and calling me a thief. Normal? Socially acceptable reaction to a situation like this. Not unhinged mother, not unhinged at the slightest. Not the asshole for this one, OP. What is her problem? Now in the comments, JSC TMAV says, "Not the asshole. You should just laugh at the mum and tell her to go ahead and call the police. You will be very happy to have them stop by to explain the situation. If they come out and find that you are being accused of stealing when kids are throwing or kicking balls into your yard when you're not home and having to do without them for a few hours, they are going to be very upset with her for wasting their time. Offer to call them for her, then show the video of them trespassing. I'd actually be careful about this since OP's wife is hard of hearing. If the cops don't know this and don't catch on quickly and come when the wife is home alone, things might go the wrong way. I'd let the police know about what is going on and give them the footage yourself so that if and when this mother tries to call the police about this, they are forewarned with enough information on how to handle things properly. Second this, police have been known to beat deaf people for not complying with instructions. They beat people who can hear just fine for the same thing. You just have to stop resisting. What, are you deaf? Not the asshole. If anything, you have video evidence of them trespassing, and you should have led with that. OP replies, I didn't really want to escalate the situation, I just wanted her to go away, honestly. You can control the situation, or be controlled by it. Guess which one works out better? This, OP. Next time this woman comes harassing you, call the police and press charges for trespassing. Worst case scenario is they keep trespassing, they could fall into your property or get bitten by your dog, and you will get sued. Yup, and if he doesn't have a paper trail that they've been trespassing all this time, when the worst case scenario happens, they'll say they allowed them to come in the back to get their ball. So protect yourself. And now, onto the update. After reading through some responses, I decided to take action. I looked through my camera footage and found all the times they have entered my garden or kicked the ball over in the last few months, and actually found one from January where they had actually come in and opened my rabbit cage up to find the rabbit. Luckily, my rabbit wasn't out there as it was winter. Following this, I went to the woman's house and met her husband. I explained what had happened, and although he wasn't yelling like his wife, he didn't seem to care. So I explained I had evidence of his son trespassing on my property, damaging my property, and evidence of potential theft, since he was opening my rabbit cage and pulling on my shed door. At first, he tried to laugh me off, but when I pulled up one of the videos on my phone and told him I was reporting this to the police, he stopped laughing, apologized, said he would speak to both his wife and son, and to please not involve the police. I politely thanked him and left. On my way home, I ran into one of the other parents and filled her in on what was going on. She immediately apologized for her son's involvement. Her son had never entered my property, but has helped lift the fence and kick the ball. She assured me that he would be grounded and have the footballs taken off him, and told if they ever do it again, I should pop the balls. I did call the non-emergency number and got it all logged, and the videos sent, and the kind lady on the phone informed me if it ever happens again, I can call and press charges. I can actually press charges now, but she advised me to wait as they will only get a warning, as this is the first time that it's been logged. This also means that if they do call to complain about theft, they will be informed of the logs against them, rather than any action against me. I've also informed my insurance company, who assured me, since it is logged with the police and I have screwed my fences in, I am in the clear. But they also recommend I get a no trespassing sign, so I will do that at the weekend. Thank you so much for all of your help and advice. I will admit that I had absolutely no idea what to do about it, or even if I had a stand legally, so thank you for all the information you have provided. In the comments, Shinebeat says, the difference between the two families' parents. The parents who shout about theft when your child trespassed and thought of stealing the rabbit, and showing indifference until the talk of police, versus the awesome parent who planned to ground the child and told OP to just pop the balls if they did it again. Wow, the audacity of that mother. I don't understand kids like that, or even parents. Anytime I accidentally yeeted a toy over the fence as a child, I completely wrote it off because just the thought of telling my parents or asking the neighbors to get it was mortifying. And if I had done it more than 3 times, my parents would have taken the toy away because clearly I couldn't be trusted with it. Jesus Christ, the audacity of that lady. To be honest, I kinda wonder why these kids are even playing there. Do they not have some place where they can play without risking a ball getting kicked into someone's garden? Having lived in a town, a lot of fields to play ball in border other people's property. 95% it goes well, and then someone kicks the ball too hard, or it bounces off at a different angle, or whatever, and it's in the property. You can ask for it back, and sometimes you have to wait until later. As a kid, I would sometimes jump the fence if no one was home, grab the ball, and leave without touching anything else. And while entering someone else's property is wrong, as a kid I wasn't focused on that aspect, just on the not trying to annoy the neighbors again and making the least amount of disturbance possible. Does your town, city, whatever, have a field that is free of use for anyone, walking distance for kids, residential area, and not bordering someone else's property? Gumby Gump replies, "This was my childhood too. It was always easier to take 5 seconds to hop the fence and grab the ball rather than take 10 minutes to go to the neighbor's house, spend 10 minutes knocking on the door hoping they hear it, then getting lectured as they got the ball. I never saw hopping the fence as a big deal as long as I just got the ball and didn't touch anything else. Balls are expensive, and I just wanted to keep playing." I guess my perspective on this one, as you heard from my opinion earlier, I don't understand what is wrong with the mum, and big thumbs up to the dad. I don't blame him for wanting to pop the ball in this situation because if it is happening this many times, you're better off finding something else to do than pissing off your neighbors. But that's just me. I want to know what you guys think about this one. Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Overall Assignment 265, titled, "Am I the asshole for not leaving a cafe because my son was babbling?" My wife and I went out for coffees and a pastry with our 8-month-old son at a cafe near our local park. He has started babbling more often lately and loves to play with his toy. That doesn't make too much noise. We were seated outside and were enjoying our coffee and pastry, and were enjoying the sun and our son's babbles while the weather is still not too hot. An older couple was seated after us, a few tables over, and they looked at us with a distaste and made a loud comment about how parents ruin going out for others with their babies. A few minutes of babbling later, she asked us if we could keep our son's voice down. I told her we would try, but no promises. We put on Miss Rachel to try to keep him from making noise, but he would start clapping or babbling still. As we were about to finish and leave, she turned around and asked us to leave so she and her husband could enjoy their day out. I told her she came to a local park, sat at an outdoor cafe, and had no right to make us feel bad for going out with our son. She told me that she never took her kids out when they made noise, and we should take others into consideration. Her husband told her that that was enough, but I threw out a comment about how she should be ashamed of herself as a mother to make other parents feel bad for enjoying themselves, especially in a public place where noise should be expected. My wife told me that I should have kept that last comment out of it because it became personal, and a coworker commented that I should have just ignored her and not said anything. My wife is now hesitant to go out to avoid me responding that way to another person. I think I'm in the clear, but am I the asshole? Edit 1. Wow, this blew up, and thank you for the nice comments. Regarding the video, it was at iPhone volume level 2. Just enough for baby to hear, but we barely heard it from 1.5 feet away. Regarding the toy, it's like a plastic toy with rubber strings. It makes a rubber sound that does make noise, but not loud enough that it's annoying like the toys with speakers. Honestly, I'm going with not the asshole for this one. I just think she should have kept her mouth shut. I feel like honestly there's no ifs or buts about it. She shouldn't have said anything, she should have kept her mouth shut. She knows what it's like to be a mother, yet she attacks you. Your rebuttal to her nonsense was acceptable, and I like the way that you went about it, OP. She deserved everything you said to her, and I don't think that you went over the top at all, and I don't think that anything you said was unnecessary, so not the asshole. In the comments, Wildly Instant 730 says, "Not the asshole. You're right. If they don't want to hear everyday noises, they can stay home. Enjoy your son's babbling. It turns into teenage silence way too quick." Not the asshole. She should have followed her own advice. If she can't shut up and make nonsense noise, she should have stayed at home. Right? Everyone has a turn at being a noisy little kid, then you get a little bit older and it's someone else's go, and so on and so forth. We've all done it, so we all should put up with it. Honestly, this OP has provided me with the easiest not the asshole decision that I have ever had to make in nearly a year of Reddit. P.S. Why do people who get so annoyed at even the existence of others bother to go out in public? I hate being in public, but if I have to go, I bring my patience. BDSM Queen says, "Not the asshole. I'm sick and tired of this hatred that has become popular against kids in public spaces. Baby babble is adorable and necessary for their development. You did nothing wrong. People just need to get over the fact that sometimes they will have to share a public space with children. We live in a society, get over it. Not everyone finds the babbling to be adorable. I wouldn't confront or say anything to the parents because it's a communal space, and that comes with the risk of being annoyed by other people. I don't find the babbling adorable. However, I don't own the public space, and kids should be allowed to exist. This right here. I kinda hate kids and the noise, but it's a public space, and unless the kid is throwing a fit, there is no reason for parents with young children to have to leave. Aside from that, how are kids expected to learn to conduct themselves in a public space if parents are expected to keep them out of sight all the time? That just guarantees that you will have your kid act out in public if you never take them out in public. And on top of that, an outdoor cafe next to a park is a pretty perfect spot to start teaching a child how to behave in a restaurant. If the kid gets restless, it's easy for one parent to take them for a walk. If they cry, it's easy to step away to calm them. There aren't any walls amplifying the sound. It sounds like OP did everything we expect parents to do when introducing their child to the world. Definitely not the asshole. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.